everybody. Here we are again at Brandi's Corner. This is the best day of each month for me because I get to spend it with all of you. We get to talk about really important things inside of women's soccer and in the world. And this being Women's History Month, I mean, that's something I could talk about all the time. Julie Foudy and I were laughing just the other day because we had an event to do, and we said, it should be Women's Day every day of the year. And I said, you know what? I look forward to the time when we're not having Women's History Month, that we will just practice Women's Day every day. So that's my goal. Anybody want to be in on that? Awesome. We also are going to celebrate a little belatedly International Women's Day. We have two international women to celebrate and listen to on some pre-recorded videos that I did. And I just want to say, are spectacular. So we're going to have a lot of fun on that. So I guess without further ado, we are going to dive right into the first one. And this is my dear friend, former teammate and nemesis, Sissi. Tell me about the decision to come to the WUSA, and what were your expectations versus what you saw and what you experienced, and what you see then the next iteration in the WPS, and then what you think about now. So that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. I think number one, after 1999 Women's World Cup, that's the one that definitely changed not only my life, but I think women's soccer around the world. It changed completely. I already said many times that I don't think we ever going to have a competition like that one.
Yeah.
In all aspects. And it goes from the talent, the organization, the fans. Oh my goodness. There is no way one day that I cannot think about, when I think about, we discuss about soccer, that I cannot think about 1999. So your generation changed completely and changed my life in all the aspects.
My life too. 99 was a catalyst for change, for sure.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I think having the experience made me change my mind in terms of leaving Brazil. So when I heard there was going to have this professional league in the United States, I cannot say to you it was scary, because it's going from, you leave your small city to a big city that is, Salvador, to go to São Paulo. But now it's different. It's leave your country to come to a different country, different culture, the language. I was definitely scared, but I accept the challenge. I was told, there is no way, you are not good enough to go to play for, in US, this new professional league. And I say, sorry, I'm gonna prove that you are wrong. But all the memories that I had, not only be part of that team, the organization, the people behind my teammates, but that first night, come to your house, because it was definitely scary. But the way you made myself and Katia, the way you made both of us feel welcome, oh my gosh. You took the time to prepare our favorite dish. It was unbelievable. And open your house, and I don't know. It was one thing that I would never forget.
Well, I tell you, I wanted to be your best friend, and having taken the journey to Japan years before to play, because there wasn't a professional league here in the US. Much like you, but probably a little less nerve-wracking, because I did have support, and I was encouraged to play. But I can't tell you how much I just wanted us to connect, and we have, and I'm so grateful that we are still friends. So, besides being teammates, and let's talk about that first year. We can hang our hats on this, and this is trivia for a lifetime. We are the first ever professional women's soccer champions. right?
Yes, it
Like,
was. Yeah, and let me tell, it's come you with this. Uh, the way we play soccer in Brazil to come and adjust, adapt to their style because it was very different. So it was the physicality, but also you know the way you guys play was very different. So you come and you try to adjust. It comes with the language barrier, all those things. So you're trying to put all together, but the whole team was so supportive.
mm,
Um, and what I want to do more than anything was to succeed, to to be able to say yes, I came, I achieved, I overcome a lot of stuff. So, but it was not very easy.
mm.
Um, but I had the support from my teammates, but you especially. Uh, I can't deny that. All we want to do is please. It goes from us to say, okay, I now remember like if it was yesterday, my first word that you taught me how to say in the locker room at West Valley College, and you say, can you say this? And I say, yes, out loud, my first bad word in,
Oh no!
in English. And I say, oh my gosh, what I am saying here. And I say it without even thinking. But the training environment, that was the best 3 years of my life. I
Mm.
can't deny all that. Definitely, I fell in love with soccer again.
Oh
um,
God.
I enjoy every minute. First 3 months it was crazy because you're trying to kind of figure it out how to. Number one is adjust your style with your style, but we hit the wall a couple of times. We started going on the bottom of the league, and we make some adjustment. And I can't believe when we won the first championship. I can't believe. But yes, those 3 years were the best year playing professionally.
Mm.
I don't think even Brazil I had too much fun, and everything. So it was very, very different, but I enjoy every single minute, and be part of the group was definitely special
I
for
can't
me.
believe you just called me out saying I taught you bad words. I was gonna
Sorry.
say that's what I learned from you all, but I was gonna keep that to myself. But now I'm gonna tell on you too.
No,
So,
that's okay.
so when the league came to an end, and I mean that was so disappointing, right? It was so disappointing on so many different levels. And what were your thoughts at that point? And then with the second iteration in the WPS, what were your thoughts about that? So closing to reopening.
Yeah, that was scary because I didn't know what I was gonna do going back to Brazil. I knew if I was in Brazil, I I don't know. I don't know what I could have done with my career. I don't know if I was still playing Brazil. So it was definitely that situation where I didn't know what to expect.
Mm,
So it was disappointing, but at the same time, I was trying to figure it out and prepare myself. What is next? What I can do?
mm.
And I was very thankful because right in the middle of the whole chaos, Jerry Zanelli.
Yes.
Oh yes, that's
This
the
is this is
guy.
very good that you brought him up.
Yeah, that was the guy that I'm here today because of him.
Yeah.
Because he gave more opportunity for me to come back and play for the WPSL with California Storm.
Yeah.
So that was, but what this is gonna be for me, playing professionally, and now I'm going back to United States and play semi-pro.
Hmm.
So it was very difficult, but I say I will embrace this challenge again. So
So, I basically, you and I then began to have these parallel line tracks, right? Because when was your retirement from from the national team?
when they retire me, let's put it away, in 2000 after the Olympics.
Yeah.
So
2000,
basically,
After
2000.
2000.
Yeah,
Right.
that's when they say, yep, they stopped calling me because
Yeah.
of
So
my age.
we've had similar experiences, Sissi, because I had that same thing in 2004. But let's go back to Jerry Zanelli and the importance of a place for women and girls to play, because you weren't done with your career and you were you were still this great player and you needed a place. And I think advocacy for women, if it looks like women, it's great. If it happens to be someone like Jerry Zanelli, I think it's also great. And speak to, again, if you can just elaborate on what that meant, because now we're talking about there was a gap, and how did you sustain yourself? How did you pay rent, or what did
Yeah.
you do?
So right when he invited me to come back, there was definitely a hesitation, because it's like, okay, how exactly I'm going to survive,
Mm-hmm.
going back. But I was very lucky that right when I came back, I had the chance to get a job at junior college.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going for you to, okay, I think I still can play and get a job as, an assistant coach. But it's, I have no idea was the difference between junior college, no idea.
Right.
And I was still thinking as a player. So, but I decided it's at least I can pay my bills, and I decided to come back.
Yeah.
So he was the reason why I came back. He was the
Give
reason
give a
why.
little more give a little more background or color to who Jerry was.
Jerry was I would say, the founder of the
Yep.
WPSL.
Correct. But
Start with,
that was not his occupation.
exactly. He was a lobbyist,
Right.
but he was still had like I was lucky to have the opportunity to meet that guy, because he was more than, he was a father figure for, he was the guy that I could talk anytime. We fought a lot, but
No. That's called love. That's just
exactly.
love.
But I always forever be grateful.
Mm.
So he started with what, I don't even remember how many teams, and suddenly was more than 100 teams, and he gave the opportunity for a lot of players to
Yes.
continue to play. And so that's the
And
reason
do
why.
you know the founder of the Women in Soccer platform, Courtney Carroll Levinson, played on the Storm. So this is another, I mean, honestly, the pebble was thrown into this very flat pond, and now the ripples just,
Yes.
I mean, I found a poster, I think I sent it to you recently, and on there it had to have anywhere between 5 to 10 national team players from US and from other places.
That's exactly. He gave it again. He gave definitely the opportunity for us to continue to play, and
Right.
But it's not only that. I think it was more for us to impact and to. It's unbelievable how many people he had a chance to help.
Yeah.
And when I say that, is help not only on the field but off the field. So
Yeah,
I,
I'm with you. I can't.
yes,
I mean, I'm so fortunate that I feel that we gave him the love back that he deserved. Right? We told him thank you. We showed up on the weekends. We drove countless
yeah, yeah.
hours to. I think I drove double the amount of time that I ever got to play, because I was so far away, but I wasn't missing it. And just as a funny side note to Jerry, he was not just the owner, he was the manager on the side.
Yeah, yes.
He would give some of the funniest halftime talks.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was unbelievable. I was like, wow. But I was still like challenging him, We had a lot of many stories about when he's, wow, you're going to serve me with 5 minutes left? What are you thinking? and I did not talk to him for 2 weeks because of that. But it goes with, all those things that, again, I don't know if it was not for him, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
and it goes from there, and then comes the WPS. There was a change. For me, it was I want to say disaster, but it was a not very good experience for me, to be honest.
And do you think that was structurally, or that was just everything?
I think everything. I think it goes from you to had the opportunity to be part of this organization when we probably had some problems, but not so much what I saw, even when it comes with the empowerment, even for you to be able to say, okay, what I'm here for. So I'm came here for what reason? So I'm came here because of who I am, or can I add something? So I was totally lost. And then it's going from not telling me what was my role from the beginning. Your role is this. So it was everything that I dislike, and it was good for me to be around the players, but not so much with the whole organization.
And I wonder if that's because I think there's a lot of good people that were investing in the WPS, but again, I think it was maybe they had a lot of love, but not a lot of understanding of how it was going to function, or what it would look like really in the community. And I feel that shift, now let's take that and let's shift to what's happening now. And do you have any communication with any of the Brazilian players that are playing in the league now, and what are some of the things that they're saying and their feelings about playing here? And are you a role model, inspiration / go-to for any new players that might want to come over?
Yes, I do have, when I can, it's to have that conversation with some of the girls. Of course, that they are trying not to give a lot of details, but it changed so much, and it goes from the style. I think the way that it's been difficult for a lot of players to adjust with that, because the game now is a fast pace, it's all about physicality, but they mention about the quality itself, So yes, there are definitely a lot of people, a lot of players, they still want to come in US because that opportunity, because of no matter what, it's still well structured more than in Brazil. So they are looking for opportunity to come and live in Brazil. But it changed completely from when I used to play and right now, and it goes with exactly the style. So I don't know. It's complicated because I try not to. I don't want to compare as much as I would like to.
That is hard. It is hard.
Yes, it is. It is hard to, when it look back and see who used to play, and right now, of course, I think no matter what, the United States still, when you look in terms of how many players they are have the opportunity to develop every year, that is something we don't have in Brazil. So that's
but okay. So this is a good transition to a conversation that I think is really critical, because you coach youth soccer, I coach youth soccer. We see it from this low level grassroots, and hopefully everybody that's listening here also will have some commentary about how can we continue to grow the game. And if you're saying Brazil, who don't have as much opportunity and isn't as well structured, but they have some phenomenal football players, how is that possible?
Okay, so imagining if we could have the same structure in Brazil. How
No,
many
it scares the
Martas?
hell out of me.
Exactly.
It scares me. That's why when I saw Pia going to Brazil, I was like, oh no.
Yes, exactly. And you
Oh,
can
no.
see how much we changed. We already closed that gap. When we used to play US, we said, no way we're going to have a chance. But we closed that gap for the past couple of years. And yes, when I heard that she was going to take over, and I say, finally, for a lot of reasons, because she played the game, she is, I knew she's going to bring something different that we haven't had.
And what do you think that is? What do you think that
It
is?
goes for you to bring the, and it comes about the tactics too, and understanding the game. And she doesn't want to change how we play. Okay, it's not change our ability, because a lot of things we are do. I already said it's natural. You can teach that. I'm sorry. No one can teach a lot of things there. I believe we have the ability to do on the field. So, but I think she can adjust. She start to adjust something we did not have before. The organization, when it comes about the tactics, especially, because that's what I pay attention now.
Yeah.
So it's putting the pieces now it's basically building a puzzle. It's putting the pieces on the right place, but now you start to understand how to manage the game a little bit different, something we did not have before.
Yeah, and I have always felt that. I thought, there was two things in my opinion. It was this organization and this discipline, right? To understand and know your role and then be there to fulfill it at the right time, right? And that's what I felt like, this player goes and dribbles off here and it looks spectacular, but now she's left some area and now all of a sudden you're vulnerable. And nobody's helping her, and there's no rotation of pieces, or like you said, there's the organizational piece kind of falls to the wayside. So that I think that's two areas for me that once she really gets her hooks into things, I think can really cause some problems for sure.
And the last thing is about the girls stay focused.
I just find it incredible how we've lived on different continents and yet we still felt some pushback. And Maria has said to me, it's like we're soccer soulmates. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Right from the beginning, I think from the beginning, I had this incredible appreciation for your talent. That's no doubt. And when anybody asks me who was the hardest player to play against, you definitely come up in the very short lineup because you were just so, I'm going to say this in a loving way, you were so good and greedy with the ball. Like you did not want to give it up. You were like, I have this ball. I'm going to give it. I'll get it back. I'm going to get it. I'm going to do this spectacular thing. I'll give it. I'll get it back. And I just appreciated it so much. So I just want you to know those trophies behind you are really spectacular and they don't compare to the player and the person that you are. I mean, we would need all of the National Soccer Hall of Fame here in America and in Brazil to express the amount of impact you've had on women's soccer. And you said before we started recording this that if you said my name in Brazil, nobody would know it. But I feel like that's something now that's on my bucket list of things to do to make everybody understand that you were this incredible catalyst to women's football in Brazil
and in America. Like it wouldn't be the same without you. So
well, I hope everybody enjoyed hearing from Sissi. There's so much more still to hear, which you can in the future find here on the Women in Soccer Network or platform. And I hope you have a chance to sit down and listen to the whole thing because besides telling on me with the bad words, I'm going to tell on her and say that's really pretty much all I knew. I'm going to say a few more things about Sissi that I didn't want to I wanted you to hear from her and kind of hear her story before telling about her a little bit. But she told me the story about when she was younger, how her parents, her family were not encouraging her to play soccer. And she got very frustrated by that when she was younger. And so she basically took the heads of the dolls that she was given because she was a girl, and that's how she learned to be good with the soccer ball. And to be honest with you, I think it changed the trajectory of her career, because if you can control a doll's head, you can damn well sure control the soccer ball, which she did like a magician. So you don't win big awards. And, you know, I think Sissi was one of the top scorers in the World Cup. And so, she's phenomenal, great person. She didn't say she's also a foster mom and has been for, oh my gosh, Sissi, this is going to be a guess. I don't know, 15 years for her son Michael, who she is adopted, and his baby sister. And you know, that takes a special someone to be able to do that. So I think we can all say that we've just been in the presence of greatness with Sissi. And I just wanted to share with you, this was our 2005 California Storm team. And on this team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 international players. Nozomi Yamago from Japan, Tafarel and Sissi from Brazil, from Mexico, Monica Gonzalez, and players that kind of rotated in and out of this team. Myself, Leslie Osborne, Shannon McMillan, Carrie Sanchez, Julie Foudy, and Alex Morgan. So Jerry Zanelli, rest in peace. You beauty. He had the best halftime talks. Hilarious. This being Women's History Month, we have a lot to, again, be grateful for, but a lot to work on, so we can just have Women's History Month be every month, and we can celebrate women all the time. I just want to remind us that we've gone through 2 other Brandi's Corners, the DISC assessment with Becky Burley, who has now retired from the University of Florida. So Becky, I hope that you are enjoying those margaritas that we talked about with your feet up in Florida. And how to know your strength in communication and know the style and the behavior of the person you're talking to, so that you can have a better bridge and, I guess, thoroughfare to connecting with your players, or maybe your family, or the people you work with. And then the next one was about change, and we spoke with Erica Harris and Crystal Dunn, who really, I love this conversation, and it was Black History Month. And so, you know, seeing through Crystal's eyes, her journey and where she wanted to go, and the fact that the Olympics is coming up. I mean, we have so much to look forward to with the U.S. women's national team. Coming up, actually, and I'll probably talk about this again, is the NWSL Challenge Cup. I mean, we're going to see a lot of international players during that time too. So this is just, it's a great month that we have. So I want everybody to make the best of it. Make as many connections as you can with as many women, whether you in a mentor role or being mentored by someone. I have a mentor myself in Lisa Cole, who I've known for many years now. She was one of the assistant coaches for the Boston Breakers back in the first WUSA. And now she's helped me navigate this crazy U.S. soccer senior licensing thing that is going on. And it's great. It's great connecting with women who are, who share some of the same passions. So if you have a chance to be a mentor, please do. And if you need a mentor, ask around here on Women in Soccer platform, because we want to encourage finding new jobs. We want to find new connections. We want to do and be everything possible for all of you. So what we'll do now is we will roll right into our next amazing woman. And what we're going to do is, this is going to be live, thank goodness. So now we don't have to worry about the technology and the videos. And right now I would like to speak with a leader in women's football in the coaching world. She is the a head coach at the Sky Blue, and she comes to us. She's an international herself, so I would like to bring freyacoombe on, and we're going to talk some coaching. We're going to talk about pathway. We're going to talk about how she's influencing the next generation of phenomenal women's soccer players. And I look forward to hearing your story, because I don't know all of it, and I love to hear it from the horse's mouth. So thank you for coming. This is a blessing to all of us, and take it away.
Oh, thanks very much for having me and for being here. It's great to be involved, and obviously in the month that we're in, celebrating Women's History and also International Women's Day. So the timing is perfect. So for me, yeah, just coming across the pond, but my sort of footballing story is kind of similar. The passion of, wanting to play soccer and wanting to play football from a young age. And in England, when I was growing up at the time, there wasn't an opportunity really to play football. Really, there was no girls' teams, and it was playing them with the boys or nothing. So, I was very fortunate to have a great leader in my headmaster at my middle school, where he allowed me to play football for the boys' team that was completely against the rules. And I ended up cutting my hair off and calling myself Fred and disguising myself as a player to be able to play in the middle school team. And that's where my sort of love and passion came. So I was very grateful to him for giving me the opportunity. And from there, I played all the time. I played every opportunity I could get in the garden, with my village team, and people are just looking for pickup games. And then I moved on and played in a senior women's team at the age of 14, which was, a completely new thing, from going from playing with 8-year-old boys and 9-year-old boys. And, then I had to stop for a bit, and then it was like, right, on you go. This is organized soccer, and I'm 14 years old, and everyone else is, mid-20s. And I was a little wee waif of a thing and got knocked around a bit, but I certainly learned quickly. And I've just never been able to shake the passion. And since then, I've played in a number of teams, played at college, and it was at college where I got into coaching. And I was asked to do a coaching qualification as part of my sports course, and did it and volunteered at a local club, did my FA level 1, and never looked back, and had involvement, whether it was at university and coaching in the local community, or then after I finished university, I wanted to get involved and got a job working for the FA, and worked for the FA for 4 years as a football development officer, coaching in the evenings part-time for Oxford United. And then I started and got involved with Reading Football Club, which is really where I cut my teeth as a coach. Got involved with their girls' academy, first as a sports psychologist, which was what my master's degree was in. And then I got involved coaching more, did more of my licenses. I did my FA level 2 and my level 3, which is the UEFA B. And then started to work with the teams and became the technical director of the Reading Academy, and then was also coaching the reserve team for Reading while I was trying to play as well. So that was an interesting time of trying to balance sort of coaching, playing, and pretty much all my spare time was taken up with football. And that's really when I made that decision, because I was a lecturer full time at a university in the day, and then all my evenings were taken up with football. And I made the decision to come over to the States and do it full time. And I always wanted to travel, and I wanted that sense of adventure. So it made sense to come to a country that had really embraced the women's game, where, a lot of opportunities in colleges, in the professional league, and then also just through club football. So that was, for me, it was a better chance to make a living in a country that I think now England's caught up and Europe's catching up. But I think America was still ahead of the time in terms of its embracing of the women's game.
I'm exhausted right now. Everybody in the chat is like, Freya, do you sleep? Do you eat? Do you holy cow. So now, honestly, I did not know all of these details, but I'm going to say the one, because we're talking about, we've talked about International Women's Day, we're talking about Women's History Month. The fact that you had to cut your hair and take on the moniker Fred, just I have to stop there, and it blows my mind. what were your parents thinking? What were they saying to you? Yeah, I'm grateful you had the headmaster, someone who could support you. But, you know, don't you think if they supported you, wouldn't they have just kind of opened it up to say, hey, why don't we support other girls? Because it's not just going to be one girl who wants to do this. Anyway, talk about that.
It was funny because we used to play football on the school playground. So it was basically the size of a basketball court. It was all concrete or tarmac or whatever you want to call it. And it was surrounded by this high wire fence. So that was like the ball playground. And we'd have several games of soccer going on at once. You know, everyone had different games to the same goals. And it was 3 games at once, different balls and everything like that. And I used to play it, and I played all the time, and I had my nice posh school shoes on, and I was wearing a skirt to school as all the girls did. And one day the headmaster pulled me and my mum into the office after school, and he was like, look, you know, she's going through her school shoes, the skirt's going everywhere. It's like, it's okay if she wants to wear trousers and like basically football school shoes to school. So I wore turf shoes, and I turned the whole uniform upside down. But that was like, for me, it was just how they were supportive. My mum was like, yeah, you're right. So she'd go and buy me the boys' trousers, put me in those, and would take me to the sports shop to buy my school shoes. And I ended up with AstroTurf shoes for my school shoes, and it was perfect. So my parents were always really supportive, you know, taking me to mini rugby and all different things but I had to stop because, again, girls, there was just no opportunity for girls. Girls playing rugby just was unheard of. There were no rugby teams or anything. So you play with the boys up to a certain age, and then after that, so I think it was about 10 or 11, you know, it's like, out you go, you can't really stay here anymore. There's not an opportunity for you. So yeah, it was pretty nuts.
So can I ask you, what was the peer environment like for you when you went to buy those trousers and you stopped wearing your posh shoes? I love that, your posh shoes. And you started being, you know, just yourself, right? You wanted to play football, and I loved, we call it recess here in America, where we would go to recess. And I mean, playing recess was the greatest. I didn't care what game it was. It just, you know, I loved to play. And so how did your peers and your school environment beyond, you know, when you put on the trousers and you wore your turf shoes, handle that at the beginning?
It was completely great. The boys were like, can you play? And it was like, I think so. And then it was like, you go, and they're like, oh yeah, you're on my team.
Yeah.
Like, boys don't care as long as you're okay. Like, if
you were not, I have a feeling you weren't okay. You were better than them. That's why you were there. I mean, yeah, agree?
It was great fun. Yeah, it was, you know, to make the school team was great, but the boys just, I think it doesn't matter. I think when you're a young kid, you don't really see all those things. It's like, are you good or not? It doesn't matter, you know, who you are or what you are. It's just, you're good? Okay, you can come and play. Oh, you suck? Okay, you got to go. So they embraced it, and it was great. I had some of the best experiences, but I think that's what were really my formative years from what was I left at 12, so between 7 or 8 and 12, and you just are playing. We played for at least an hour, probably an hour 20 minutes every day, with all the different breaks that were added together. But it was truly crazy with the number of people that were on this field at one time, or in this small playground, and at least 2 or 3 games going on at once. And it was just nuts. No pinning. There was nothing to distinguish who was on whose team. You just knew, oh, they're on my game. We're playing with the orange ball. Oh, those guys are playing with the green ball. Like they're playing a different game. But it was fantastic.
That had to be. I mean, maybe that's what coaches should start thinking. It's like, you have multiple balls going around. You better get your head up, know who's where and what's going on in your own game.
Yeah, for sure.
God, that just I have such a smile on my face. My cheeks are hurting right now, because just the thought of the joy that the game gave to you, and that you were encouraged. You were encouraged to participate. And, you know, unlike the story we heard about Sissi, where, you know, it wasn't really encouraged until she was probably around that, you know, 12, 13-year-old age. And, you know, that pathway was hard, but, you know, I think as we were all finding, we all found football here together, right? And we're all making a difference. Can you explain the difference in your experience with working at Reading and the FA and what that was like as a woman, and now what it's like to be working in your position as a head coach in the NWSL in America.
Yeah, so my experiences in that regard have always been great. So when I worked at the FA, my whole remit was to develop girls and women's football across 2 counties, so Berkshire and Buckinghamshire. And there was different officers that did the same job in all the other different counties.
Okay.
So we had really good funding from the FA to be able to do that. And we were responsible for initiatives for increasing the participation rates of girls and women in football. So from that part, I felt really supportive. We were funded from the FA. We had a lot of our national managers who ran the programs were women, and there was a lot of the people in the roles were women as well. So that was really great.
What years were this? I'm just trying to draw kind of a correlation between timing and what the English women's national team was doing and this, because I mean, they were very anonymous, the national team, for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so this was all around participation and working in schools and setting programs in schools and linking people that liked playing the game and giving them a taster in school to their local club where they could go and develop and play more. So this was all from sort of 2004, 2005 until about 2007, 8. Yeah, in that time. And it was great. And I think it's probably after that time that we've really started to develop as a national team. And again, like fundings have increased, the structure with the centres of excellences, and then how they changed their regional centres. I think that's been really good. And just the increase in coach development and specialist regional staff and the investment that the FA have put into in the women's game has really increased, which I think has seen the development as well as the league structure.
I mean, obviously we need our federations to support women's football, right? And until they decide to do that in this kind of pay equity space, we're going to stay where we are. Would you agree with? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think, we've got to see the investment in the women's game to see it grow. And I think when you start to invest in the game, you can see now with the sponsorship of, the level of sponsors we're attracting in the NWSL now, with the Challenge Cup and with new sponsors, I'm sure, coming on board this year and to be announced. There really is some recognition now and growth of the game, and people are really starting to invest in it more, which is fantastic. And we just need to see it more and more everywhere we go, because the viewership from the Challenge Cup was absolutely fantastic. And, the viewing figures that we had on CBS and also internationally through Twitch were brilliant. So that's something that, I think everyone's seeing now is, okay, actually we can start to invest in it, and it's not just a charity. We're going to get somewhere with it.
Well, I think the word invest has different meanings, right? I think people used to invest in women's sports by giving support and saying, yeah, we encourage girls to play, but not investing resources like money, right? Mm-hmm. Sponsorship dollars, television outlet. And in terms of that greater exposure, how does it influence your team? Let's talk about the NWSL specifically and Sky Blue. What does that mean to your players? How does that influence what you're doing?
Yeah, so obviously, the more that we can get, it's difficult with COVID, isn't it? Because it really has an impact on sort of participation, fans coming through. But certainly, I think that's helped with the TV viewership, and then, the investment in the club and the resources that we can have by being able to get more money through sponsorship. It's just greater opportunity for our players, and the resources are available. So we want to be able to attract those sponsors and, to attract more people in terms of just getting a footprint in the area, whether it's attracting more people to come to the games, whether it's attracting more people to watch on TV, it's encouraging more people to get out and play and to start to play the game themselves. And just then the knock-on effect in terms it has on the club and bringing more money into the club.
All right, so let's talk about the season that's coming up and your team. You don't have to divulge all your secrets, just some of them. So give us some insight as to again, you just mentioned COVID and how this year already is different than any other year. What does this season look like to you, and what does the Challenge Cup, let's talk about the structure of the Challenge Cup and how you see that potentially playing out for your team.
Yeah, so, the biggest thing I think that everyone is really struggling with, I think all the clubs across the league, is just the preseason that we've got. We've got 10 weeks of preseason, but it's incredibly difficult to play against other opposition. Whereas normally we'd have college friendlies, everyone's available, they're out of season. But now there's a lot of strict rules regarding the colleges and which colleges can play. Some aren't allowed to play out of conference. Others can, but they're still playing in their conference schedule. So it's really difficult to get games. And then with COVID, we just don't want to have that additional travel. Every time you want to fly to another NWSL club, it's a risk assessment. So I think for us, in order to answer your question, going into the Challenge Cup is almost like an extension of our pre-season in order to prepare for the season. Okay. And I think other teams may treat it differently. They might be, looking at it for its entirety. And obviously we want to do well, but it's hard to go into that without a real slew of games behind you and really sort of broken the team in, if so to speak. So for us, we're looking to go and get on the front foot. I think, we're looking to obviously do well, but for us, it's the season as a whole. The main season is our target.
Okay, so we have a couple questions that have come up in the Q&A, and one I think that really applies to our conversation right now, which is there any chance that the NWSL could join the Champions League?
I would love to see something like that. I absolutely would. And I think, that's something that's certainly going to attract the players here. And to continue to play in the league, and for us to step up. I think, watching the games and Go Pied today, and, the excitement around Chelsea playing Atletico, or, going over and playing teams, the best of the best. I think that's really exciting. And now even with the Champions League on it, everyone's drawn to it. And that's what we want to be involved in too. So whether it's something that we can do, but that's something I'd love to see. Me too.
I mean, there's no reason to continue to grow the club side of things like we're growing the international side of things. So I think that makes perfect sense. And I think that's another, for clubs around the world, it's another great opportunity to showcase players, right? And those players maybe being able to have international opportunities that they may not have had otherwise. So another question that's come up in the Q&A, which is interesting, I think, is talking about, do you think that did playing with the boys until about 14 mean that you transitioned to girls after, or what was, it says you played with other fierce rebels who always had your experience, only girls on the boys team. So did playing with boys until 14 mean that when you transitioned to the girls team, you played with other fierce rebels like yourself?
Yeah, so I had a bit of a gap. So I played up in middle school till I was 12, and I couldn't join a women's team till I was 14. That was, when you could sign your contract and play. So there was a tiny little gap in there where I was just playing sort of pick up stuff and trying to just kick a ball around with my friends. But it made a difference for me, I think. And I think playing with boys certainly allowed me to be at the level that I was at, to go and play in the women's team and go on there.
Here's a question. This is a philosophical question about young players. Not really, soccer shouldn't depend on gender. Should boys and girls, like in academies, play at the younger ages together? And then at what point do you feel that maybe then, okay, now we're ready to have gender specific organizations? And what would be the benefit of that?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer in that people should mix across abilities and across experiences, and whether that's gender is one of those factors. That's huge for me. A big part of how I grew up was playing in the park at weekends and after school in my local environment. But we had everyone from 16-year-olds in there to 6-year-olds in there, and the game, we were always able to organize it depending on who was available to make it fair. So sometimes you might have had 3 16-year-olds against 20 of everyone else. And, you know, and it was a way to like challenge the game and make it work. And it was, you know, okay, well, we've got 5 and 5, so but they're pretty good, so let's put them on different teams. And you always may not find a way of making it equal. But those experiences were brilliant, because there'd be days where I would be the worst player on the field, there'd be days I'd be the best player on the field, and then that changes how you play. So you can practice some things when you're the best player on the field, and then other times you're really getting stretched and challenged, and sometimes you're in the middle of the pack. And for me, that really helped, I think, with my development. And in answer to your question, that's something that I think is really good, whether it's people playing up a bit to challenge themselves, but then going back down to their age group to be the best, and to get that confidence and competence, and you know, be able to apply what they've learned in that environment where they're being challenged. So for me, it's less about gender, but more about, okay, where am I getting really challenged? Where am I more comfortable? And getting a good amount of both. And you often see that really good players that have come through have maybe gone and played in an academy, but they were also playing in their school team where they were the best person. Having that big mixture, so it's that mixture of environment that I think has really helped them be able to develop.
I'm just going to leave with one more question, with one more comment, and then we're going to invite someone to join us. I think the big conversation right now is club and high school. Here in California, there's constantly this battle. And I'm with you that I might have a player who maybe sits at 14, 15, 16, 17 on my roster, but she goes to high school and she's the captain of the team. You know, she learns her leadership skills. She gets to really influence and impact the players around her. And for me, I see that as a positive. You know, I believe as coaches, our job is just to facilitate, attempting to get the best out of all of our players, right? And to help them grow as people and players at the same time, if possible, and get them to understand all these wonderful dynamic experiences that you can have in playing team sports. So I'm really grateful for that comment from you, because as a professional coach, who I'm sure for most people are thinking you have to only play soccer growing up, this is all you do, or you play only in your club and only in your age group, or you have to play up. I think the combination that you experienced in your life really actually gave you a well-rounded, not only just footballing practice as a player, but perhaps even now as a coach, it's given you that balance in your life. So now you've given us what it was like to play when you were young and coming up. And I'm going to invite someone now who I've recently become friends with. I hope she doesn't mind me calling her my friend. Her name is Crystal Thomas. She is now I'm calling her a veteran now in the NWSL. She's now with Orlando. She played at Notre Dame and then went to Georgetown because she's super bright and had to continue all of her studies and continue to play. And I'd like to invite her to share her story on what it's like to have maybe seen the women's national team grow up and now be a part of this league as a player, and kind of just give us her perspective. So if Rachel, you can help us facilitate Crystal coming on, that would be amazing. Freya, you're the best. That was. I look forward to more conversations, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Brandi.
I really wish that you would have brought a picture of yourself from your Fred days, and if you have one, you have to share it with Women in Soccer.
I have to try and dig one out,
because I have some really super bad middle 70s haircuts that I will share if you're willing to share yours too.
Fantastic. Okay. Sounds like a deal.
Okay. So I'm hoping that, Rach, we got that happening. Again, yes, Crystal Thomas. Crystal, I don't know if you have met Freya, but Freya, Crystal, welcome to this platform together. Thank you so much for your time. I know both of you are very busy during this time, obviously in your preseason. So I will zip it and I will let you give us your story and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, Brandi, I'm honored to be here. I think this is fantastic. And just like listening to these other stories, I'm so inspired and like pumped up. I'm like, let's go, which is awesome. And Freya, I hope you don't mind me saying, but we've never like talked in person. We've played against each other, and I had a question. I just wanted some life advice, and I texted her out of the blue and was like, "Can I talk to you?" Like, she's very busy, as we all heard, and she actually sent me a message back. Yeah, shoot, like, give me a call. Talk to her on the phone, and I really appreciate that. So just another example of women helping other women and growing the game. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Crystal. Appreciate that.
Yeah, hopefully you don't mind me sharing that with everyone.
That was good.
But yeah, I'm so pumped to be here, Brandi.
I'm happy to have you. So not me, pretend, I mean, you got to tell everybody, you know, where you're from, your background, how did you get to this place you are right now?
Totally. I'm from Chicago suburbs. I grew up with two brothers, so there was a lot of sports in the house, which was awesome. And I actually started playing soccer because at recess I was playing against the boys and I didn't know all the rules, and like this one kid didn't know the rules and they were making fun of him, and I'm like standing up for him, and then I went home. I'm like, Dad, I need you to put me on a soccer team so I can learn the rules and beat the guys. so yeah, and one of those guys ended up playing, you know, collegiate soccer, and we still keep in touch, which is hilarious. But yeah, I was just determined to win from the beginning, and my parents put me on a team, which, you know, was a financial commitment at the time, and so thankful that they did. And then kind of like some of the other stories we heard, I would play pickup in the neighborhood, and there was a lot of a really strong Hispanic presence, which I'm so thankful for. And I would show up and it'd be like the only female. And I'd be like, hey, can I join? And at first they're like, you know, like, and then I start playing and they're like, oh, let's go. Like, you know, negging people, and they start, you know, it's such a fun environment. Then, you know, before you know it, there's other women, and it just enriches the whole experience for everybody.
And so obviously you went on to play collegiate soccer. Why don't you talk about that experience? And then what was it like to be thinking about what's my next move post college? Because, you know, as much as we want and we hope for this pay equity, we're still working on it, right? And
Totally.
being a professional female soccer player, if you're not a national team player, and maybe you're not in the stratosphere of the Megan Rapinos and the Carly Lloyds, you know, with your name, you know, that's not easy. And so can you tell us about kind of that ascension from college through?
Totally. I played at Notre Dame to start. I loved it. They have a great culture there. And then when Randy Waldrum left, I transferred to Georgetown and just learned a ton going from there. And then my parents always knew that I wanted to play professional soccer. That was just always my goal, and or, you know, eventually national team too. And that's still a goal. And I called my mom and I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna go pro. And I told her these are the salaries, and she was like,
No, did she say for the month?
yeah, she was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
She's like, you must really love it. And I was like, I do love it. And I know that it's improved. I mean, I have friends that when they were playing in the league, the minimum was like 7,000 or something.
Right.
And it's grown a lot. It still has so much room for improvement, but there's a lot to be thankful for. I mean, here in Orlando, we have a strength and performance coach, Christy. We've got great doctors and trainers, and we just have this great support system that I know that a lot of the women that came before didn't have. And I know that players like you help set the stage for what we have now. And I'm hoping that we can leave it even better for the next generation. And there's players that are on the forefront, like Alex Morgan, that are fighting for that, like Marta. And I mean, there's so many players within the league. I'm just, you know, picking players that are on my team, that are just working to improve the conditions for the players, the salaries. So much to be thankful for, but also so much to keep pushing for.
Yes, indeed. So give us a fly on the wall perspective of what is it like to be on a team and now you've been moved, or you're valuable over here, and so now you've moved to Orlando from Washington. How was that transition, and how is being with a new team?
It's been really good. I think one of the biggest things that's going to be the most important wherever you're playing is having a team that's welcoming to you and that takes care of their new players. And I think that says a lot about a team dynamic and how well they're going to do, what their ceiling is in terms of their potential. And kind of like Brandi, what you did for Sissi, I think just there's been multiple players that have reached out and made sure that I feel comfortable, kind of taking me under their wing. And I think most of the teams in the NWSL have that, and I think it's pretty rare, and I'm very thankful for that. So it's been really good. The level is great, and just having a new coaching staff and new players to learn from, I think, is always going to stretch you and grow you. So that's been really fun. Talking with Sydney LaRue on the side about how we can change tactics to make things better. I mean, it's just a great environment to continue to learn and grow.
Awesome. Okay, listen, we're going to now, if you all will indulge me and everybody else who's on this call, we're going to have a breakout and we're going to go to different tables and we're going to meet some people and they're going to ask you some questions. You're going to ask some questions and then we'll come back together. And if you hear any great stories, you guys are going to have to call them maybe up to share with all of us, because I think everybody's story is impactful, right? And we can all learn something. Like just Freya and Crystal, hearing your stories. Crystal, you saying, I I went and played with a Hispanic group. Like that to me is like, you're crossing a cultural divide, right? And you're changing perception. And Freya, having to change her physical appearance so that she could participate, and then having support from her parents in a time when it wasn't really the norm for girls to be doing that. Helps us parents remember, we have to support our kids. And so I think everybody's story is very valuable. So Rach, if we can do that, that would be amazing. Amazing. And then we can all come back together and we can share some.
I just
go ahead.
To add just two things. Because I've been following the women's national team, through all the World Cups and stuff. And I knew like the first game that you guys played with Japan, I said, oh, we're going to see this match again in 4 years. And I knew it was like mental fatigue, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna bring it. And that was exactly, because I remember that the women's team started working with a coach, and like I could see like in the 4 years later how like when you hit that wall, you guys just broke right through it. And that's why I was like, oh yeah, they got this, no problem. And it was just like that aspect of adding that, because for me, soccer's like playing chess.
100%. Thank you for saying that. I think soccer is chess. You
Definitely.
better be a few moves ahead. Otherwise, you're going to lose the match. That's for sure. So thank you very much.
Yes. Well, thank you for that opportunity. Thank you so much.
Of course. So ladies and gentlemen on this call, we have one more wonderful video to share with you of an international player who was the captain of Spain's first ever Women's World Cup team in 2015. Vero Bouquet. She has played in more countries than most people visit in a lifetime, which is incredible. And her story of being a professional started here in the States with not even a professional team. It was more a semi-pro team. And she's moved across continents and across oceans and is now playing in Italy and has aspirations to be a professional coach in the future. And I look forward to you all listening to her story. And I want to thank you all so much for coming to Brandi's Corner. Again, remember, the NWSL Challenge Cup is coming. You can see Crystal, you can see Freya, you can see all the great players in the NWSL. We are really excited about seeing you. And I have to say, I really miss being on the sideline of a professional team. So it's great. So enjoy this interview. I look forward to seeing you all next month. April 14th, I believe, is our date for the next Brandi's Corner. And I'm going to say peace out
to everybody. It's time for me to go and coach. So thank you all. Take care. Thanks, Brandi.
Now, I mean, I look at the list of places that you've been, and coming from such a soccer-rich, traditional country as Spain, then I see in 2010, you go to Buffalo, New York. What the heck? How did that happen? Tell me about that.
Well, it happened because in that time in Spain, women's football was really, really little. And like in our social countries, like kind of the education is a macho country. And we have a tradition and a culture for soccer, but for a men soccer. So that was the big point for me when I grew up. But yeah, like this opportunity came up, and
How did it come up? How did it come up?
yeah, it came up because my agent now for the last 12 years, he just saw me play when he came in a trip to Barcelona. I was playing there, and he started to talk to me and say like, maybe you should go to US and try to see if someone can see you. So I went to Buffalo to play like a summer league for 1 month in my vacation mode. And then we make it to the finals. The final was in SPM, and some coaches and some sport directors from the professional league were there in LA, and they watched me play, and then I just got this opportunity in Chicago right away.
I mean, honestly, who would have known it would have been from your small little town or your small town, Santiago de Compostela, to Buffalo, New York? Like, that was not the intended pathway, obviously.
No, obviously not. And it was a shock because I really thought that I knew some English. I say, yeah, it's gonna be enough when I arrive there to communicate, to have like a little chat. It's gonna be okay. And obviously, no. When I arrived there, I couldn't understand anything. I was trying to say some words, and they will be like, "What? Like that's no English." And so it was like, I mean, I have cool memories, but yeah, that was the beginning. And from that, I really became. Later, I became professional. I went to the professional league there in US, and like US is really inside of me because gave me the opportunity to become professional and to get the respect internationally.
So let's not gloss over the fact that you were the MVP in 2011, right? I'm really curious as to how did you transition your football from culturally what was played in Spain, what we get to see now with the national team, to this smaller team in Buffalo, but then into the in the WPS, WSA. That's a long time ago. That's my era. What was that transition like, and what was football like for you in America?
It was really interesting because that was my question when I went to Philadelphia. Like, okay, what is gonna be like? My style is gonna fit. Like, I gonna be able to run that match, to be able to play 90 minutes in a soccer game that is like more intense and more physical than in Spain. And then, I don't know, like I just adapt really quick. I arrived to Philadelphia and I think I paid right away, like after 2 days. And I think that it's kind of easy for me to adapt because I'm a player that I love to adapt. I love to go to different countries to see the style, the methodology in trainings, and try to get the best that I have and get the best that they have and try to make it work. And that happened in US. I adapt my style. I knew that, okay, some things maybe I can't do it here, but others it's gonna work. And it worked.
Well, I'm going to list off Buffalo, Philadelphia, Chicago, Portland, Utah, obviously Spain, Germany, France, Sweden, Russia, China. I mean, your passport must have 1,000 pages in it. And, you've been, I'm going to call you the nomad of women's football, but, again, is it because I don't want to put words in your mouth. And now Italy. And so what's been the impetus for change and going to all these places? And what have you found to be the collective, and what have you found to be like, oh, that's way out there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I always say that there are two reasons why I changed that much. One is that women's soccer didn't have stability. So now it's kind of easy to start to play when you are younger, and then maybe make it all the way to the first team and play in the highest level with your team, and then become captain and everything like in what we see in men football. So if you want to change, it's because of the reasons. But in women's football, I was in teams that then they folded. So I was in Chicago. I wanted to come back to Chicago, but the next year, Chicago was not there. The same happened in Sweden. After 2-3 seasons there, then I have to move because the team, it was folded, or in other cases, like in Frankfurt, maybe it was 1 year was really competitive, but then the budget was less. And so I think that was something that during some years it was women's soccer internationally. Now it's different with the big clubs. You always have a good budget, you always are competitive, so it's different. But also there was other reason that was my ambition. And in the moment that I have some goals and I go to a country, I get those goals, and then it's like, okay, now I have to move on. I have to get out of my comfort zone. I have to keep growing. And I push myself all my career doing that. I went to Sweden, I went to different countries, and I take everything from them, but okay, my goal is this. I reach the goal, and then it's like, okay, let's move on. And yeah, like I'm enjoying every country. Every country has the particularities in the on the field and also off the field. Obviously, China and Russia were I was way out of my comfort zone in the cultural side, and yeah, it was kind of the limit. And then countries like Germany, like is a really strong, and physically trainings are really longer than in other countries. There are so many individual duels during the games. Then you go to France, where some players are have like a really strong physical capacities. You have to adapt to that. Then in Spain, tactical or technical is higher. So every country has their own peculiarities, and I just love it.
That I feel like you and I are kindred spirits, because I always loved when the national team would travel. Again, you know, they travel so much more to so many different places, play so many different teams now. But that was probably one of my favorite bits about football, was this international connection, right? To be able to take something, you know, go somewhere else, evaluate it, play against it, play with it, take something away, go to another place. So I really value that. That's such a great message, I think, for every young girl, every young person, really, right? One, you can't be afraid to try.
Yeah, totally. Because I think that when you travel, you see everything. And now we are talking about the sport, but also obviously like my life experience are more valued than my career. Right. And when you go to a country, you see how they do, you understand better why they do or how they do the things. And yeah, and then you take the things that you really believe that works, and you take the others out, and you become better.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, next two questions kind of tied together. Did you learn any other languages? Maybe not fully, or did you learn some languages? And this is a hard one because I hate to compare, contrast, but I will. Which place did you like the best for, not for football, for what was the reason that you felt like connected?
Yeah. So yes, I learned some languages. I had to. The first one was English, and at the same time, English stopped me for learning other languages, because you always find people that speak English. Right. But yeah, English, obviously I speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese, and I speak French, and now I'm learning the Italian. So I will say Swedish and German were the hardest one. So I always say life is too short to learn German, so I didn't learn. I learned a little, but now I can't say it. Life is too short. But yeah, that is also other gifts that I get from my career. And then where I was more connected, or where I really enjoy everything, it was in Sweden.
Yeah.
A
Like, a beautiful country.
Yes, it is. The quality of life is great. Winters are really cold. That's the negative part.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the team was great. Like I played with some of the best players in the world. We have a fantastic team. We have a fantastic coach with Tony Gustafsson. The playing style, it fit perfectly. And yeah, and then the quality of the country to live there. So I will say that those 3 years were the highest of my career.
Excellent. Now, you have some things in your bio that you're an author. Yes. Maria, who's a part of the Women in Soccer Network, is also an author. I have a book myself. I think, doing things off the football pitch is something that has always also inspired me, because there's so many lessons I've learned. What is the greatest lesson in football that you've taken off the field, and maybe even in writing your book, that you feel will be something that will be the foundation for your success later?
Well, everything, because it's like all my values and my principles, I got it from football. So all the important things I learned since I was a child, like to take responsibility of your things. Like I remember when I was a child, I can't forget my boots, like are my responsibility. The compromise, when you compromise with a group of people, with someone, with yourself, like you have to go all the way. And those are things that it comes from sport. Like even go through moments where when you have pain, when things doesn't work out, like just to push yourself to keep going, to be positive, to know and to understand that you have to empathize with a lot of people. No, everyone see the things in the same way. No, everyone learn in the same way, and the motivations are different, and you have to find a way to touch everyone. And this is something that for me is I know it's gonna be my passion later, because I want to be a professional coach, and I'm learning a lot about people and different cultures. Players are different depending of the countries that they come. Then priorities are different, and you have to know what is the priority, what is their motivation to make the group and the team to work together. And yeah, I think that we are really like fortunate that we are football players, or in your case you were a football player, because the moments that we live in the emotional side, like if you take 1 week or 1 month of your career, like some people don't live that intensely in a whole life. Right. So that is something that I don't take for granted.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Crystal, so stoked you're still here. What an incredible chat with Vero, between Vero and Brandi. I know.
Amazing.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Have you ever crossed paths with Vero on the field?
Yeah, on the field, but not otherwise. Was really impressed with her play. She's a very cheeky, clever player. And as you can tell, she's very smart. And I just thought I was just inspired when she was talking about how she's gone through injuries and setbacks, and how she stayed focused on her goal. She stayed positive, and that's how she was able to accomplish so much. And also the fact that she was able to traverse so many different cultures, get those awesome experiences, and also those challenges. And I was just really impressed.
Yeah, and I mean, it speaks to the point that Dr. Melanie was bringing up, that the game is so multifaceted and it isn't just getting out there and playing it. I mean, each of you have spoken to that, and it's in a different way. The breadth of feedback we've heard today from all these different lenses, like Brandi and Sissi in that era, and Freya coming in from this other perspective with the coaching lens, and you coming in with your current live, absorbing it, actively working and playing in it. What would you tell, I don't know, what do you want to tell the next players that are coming up behind you? And is there someone, or I'm curious to know, because we have you, Crystal, is there someone that you would love to meet or talk to that, you know, you've looked up to, or you've idolized, or now you look up to, or now you've idolized, or ask some questions because they've been around?
That is a great question. I would say my advice would be to find good mentors, decide what your goals are, and then just work to achieve them. I was reading a quote the other day, and it was like, those who succeed are those who don't give up. Basically, that was the gist of it. And I think that's so true. And I think that I've seen that in my career and in the careers of others. Other than Brandi, who I was just been so blessed to get to know and just work with a little bit, she's awesome. And she's investing in the youth now, which is so cool. But I would love to talk with Tiffany Milbritt. I don't know, I'm sure a bunch of people on this in this chat remember her. And when I was at a U.S. national team camp, I think it was the under-20s a few years ago, she was there and still training with us. Like, no joke, still training. Yeah, and she was awesome. Like, we actually worked super well together. We were like passing back and forth in the game, scoring goals. Like, she had a nickname for me, and I was calling her Tiff. Like, we like grew up as best friends. I was like,
go way back.
Yeah, like we've known each other forever. I was there when you scored that goal in the World Cup. No, I was barely watching soccer then. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people might enjoy talking to her on this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was waiting. I know someone was going to chime in, and Kim jumped in about Tiffany being impossible to mark. That woman was a beast. Yeah. Oh, Kim, what an experience. Well, we will, Krista will have to, if not Kim, maybe someone else, but we will definitely have to shoot a note to Brandi about seeing what we can do to talk with Tiffany. I would love to, one, be able to make that happen for you, but also for all of us as well.
Yeah, be awesome.
This will be a blast. But Crystal, thank you so much for your time, and everyone that is on the line, thank you so much for being here with us. And we are going to share, I know Pip put in the chat, we're going to share those interviews in full. So you got a little taste of Sissi's interview, and I'm sorry we missed out on her, but the full interview just shows you this love of the bond that Brandi and her have had, and what this, speaking again to the aspect of the game that transcends the field, has done for Sissi in her life. So I highly recommend jumping in on that. Crystal, I'd love to know what you think of it too. Similarly with the Vero chat, those will all be up on our YouTube channel. But
awesome.
Crystal, if there's anything else, if you had any questions for anyone else in the chat, or if there's any last things you want to share, please, we welcome you to.
Thanks. No, I just thought this was really cool. It was a great group. I loved just getting to talk to people and hear their perspectives. Hopefully I didn't talk too much, because I want to learn from you guys. And this was just, Rachel, thank you for hosting this. And I know there's other people like Pip and Maria that made this happen along with Brandi. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Crystal. And everyone, hey, get out there, go support the Orlando Pride. We're also going to shout the Sky Blue FC crew because we have Freya here with us. But get out there and give them some support. We welcome you to hop around in the floor, and we will send you back there now. Thanks again for joining us on Brandi's Corner. Have a great night.